Good evening from London, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are listening to Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, your one-stop shop for professional wrestling insight, news, and reviews on a daily basis. It's Sunday, October 1st, 2023. We've done a podcast that means you've done a podcast for 10 months daily now. That is craziness. But yeah, we're going to keep on going. Last night was NXT No Mercy. That's what we're going to be talking about today. Tonight is AEW Wrestle Dream. Wow, oh wow, what a stacked weekend of professional wrestling. So for such a stacked weekend, we need a stacked panel. Firstly, the co-host of the show, Clark Taylor. How are things, Clark?
I'm doing all right. I'm reeling off this United States loss in the Ryder Cup. I really thought we were going to pull this one off just for a brief moment there. And then, of course, they pull the rug out from under us and the European side wins. We'll see you again in 2 years, though, you Europeans. I do love the Ryder Cup. Aside from that, what a sports weekend, because we've got all this pro wrestling. We got PLE last night, No Mercy. We've got Collision last night. Now we've got Wrestle Dream. This is off the charts. I love it. And managed to squeeze in No Mercy. What a show. And I do know that there's a guy on this panel, don't want to bear the lead, but he gave some pretty sweet ratings to this show. Can't wait to hear from him.
He absolutely did, and we'll get on to that man in just a second. But you mentioned being a great weekend for sports, and it's the one time per week I'm gonna shout at my boys at Arsenal. Arsenal Football Club got the victory yesterday, a confident 4-0 victory against Bournemouth, an away win and first goal for Kai Havertz. Shout out to him as well. But now let's move on to the guy who you were just talking about, Clark, the head of reviewing here at Wrestling Republic, the man who gave not one, but 2 5-star ratings out last night, Coby Galenzoski. How are you, Coby?
As soon as Clark Taylor mentioned Collision, I was like, wait, am I on the wrong show? But at the end of the day, today is, of course, NXT No Mercy. Obviously, the PLE/slash pay-per-view guy. I had to review it. And like you said, we got a couple top ratings of the year, if I do want to say so myself. But at the end of the day, what a show it actually was. As a whole, it was just a really good and entertaining show. I'm glad to have been able to watch it live, and especially the semi and the main event. They back to back. There's not much more. There's not 2 better matches you can put in a position like that to deliver in that way. The only other one I can say is how night 1 had Charlotte Flair and Rhea, and then the tag match main event. That's a similar effect, but at the end of the day, those were 2 bangers, and these were 2 bangers as well, both for completely different reasons, and that's what you want in wrestling.
Absolutely, Coby.
Say,
I could not
had
agree.
to doesn't he mean got to, by the way? I mean, you get to review 2 5-star matches. You had to? That sounds like it was a chore. I mean, that's a pleasure.
Yeah, exactly, it is a pleasure.
Sorry. Speaking of had to, I had to.
But last but certainly not least, we have Bret Sternberg. How are you today, Bret?
I'm doing great. Hope everyone's having a great week so far, even though it's the first day of the week technically. Stayed up late last night to watch a lot of good wrestling, so that's why I'm tired right now, but it's for a good cause, so I'm not mad about it.
Absolutely, it's going to be a fun show for sure. Firstly, we got a few comments. Let's start with Bobby Batito. Shout out to you, Bobby.
Shout out, Bobby. Good to see you as usual.
Who's saying as well, he enjoyed NXT No Mercy last night. Somebody who also enjoyed it was Belle Renee. Shout out, Belle, who was saying No Mercy was a better show than I expected it to be. The last 2 matches were absolutely incredible. But I could not agree more, and let's get straight into one of them. The NXT Championship. It changed hands. Ilya Dragunov defeated Carmelo Hayes, and this match, it was exceptional. New NXT champion, Dragunov. I've watched him for years. Nobody deserves this more than him. I'm a big Carmelo Hayes fan. I'm looking forward to his seeming, feud now with Trick Williams. The NXT title picture looks bright. The NXT North American title picture, which we'll talk about later on, looks bright as well. But this match, this NXT Championship match, it blew my socks off. Clark, give me your take.
I love this. I absolutely loved the match. I mean, 5 stars, and deservedly so. To be completely honest, our scale is not breakable like others, right? But this was one of those where you can name things that they did that were just purely special. The styles clashing, for no reference to AJ there, right? But the styles clash that we had between Melo and Dragunov is something that's just really, really difficult to find in today's professional wrestling. 2 guys that can blend so well bell to bell in a storytelling sense, but are so different. It's fascinating. The match was fascinating. Fill it up again. I wouldn't mind seeing this 100 times over, and I might still not get bored, because there was not a second of this match I wasn't intrigued by, and that's all you can really ask. I mean, Melo's him. Dragunov has a claim on him too. They're both. I mean, what more in the world as a professional wrestling fan could you ask for than this slugfest? And who besides Ilya Dragunov brings out the slugger in Carmelo Hayes that we saw last night? It was
true.
Absolutely wicked. Not to use some Northeast terms there, but as a SoCal guy, but it was wicked in a good way, right? It was wicked awesome. And everything about it I enjoyed. Feed me more. No. Speaking of weird references, no right back there, but feed me more of that. Right, Ezekiel Elliott, just keep giving me spoonfuls, because it doesn't get much better than what we saw there. I think if anyone is going to complain about a 5-star rating on this one, you didn't watch the match.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Either that or you don't get it.
Yeah, no, I think it's very hard to disagree with you there, to be honest, Clark. It really was one of those matches which reminded me of an NXT takeover NXT championship match. We've spoken about, NXT premium live events maybe not being up to that standard anymore. Well, this match would have fit, onto any NXT takeover and stole the show on almost any of them as well. But Coby, you gave it 5 stars, so I presume you liked this match.
100%. And I mean, I got flack from not giving 5 stars to the last one, but I feel like this was that step forward from the first one at the Great American Bash. At the end of the day, the one thing I can note is the 2 matches had very similar structure towards how the match was being done. Like they started off slow, they started off hard, and then the escalation and the building to the climax, or the near falls, and the drama involved in the story. At the end of the day, I didn't think it was going to happen with Ilya Dragunov taking the win, but I like the fact that they do it, because they're giving you the opportunity for Hayes to be able to prove himself wrong once he grows. If he has another North American title reign, if he beats Trick, maybe he does. But there is 100% going to be a rematch down the line. If it's for the title, if it's not, if Dragunov loses to Hayes, if Hayes gets a second reign with the belt in that manner, I'm not going to hate that decision. At the end of the day, this was so good, and the fact that they were able to do, I don't want to say new spots, but they had counters to counters. We saw the coast to coast being countered with the code breaker the last time. We saw the code breaker being countered this time. At the end of the day, they evolved their style, they evolved their chemistry. It looked like these 2 guys have wrestled 20 times in the last few years, something like a Walter versus Ilya Dragunov. No, not Walter, but Gunther. At the end of the day, if not, I'm pretty sure this is their second time in the ring together, especially second time televised. And they have that chemistry to go hit for hit, I said it in the chat. It was kind of funny seeing Dragunov take a lot of head bumps. So he was basically saying, "Yes, sir, may I have another?" Because he just taking it, and then he had some of the blood. It was good, but this is exactly what you want. It's a 5-star match that was just over 20 minutes, and it didn't have to go over 30 like a lot of the takeover matches we've seen.
That's true.
No knock, but it was a 5-star match for a 20-minute match, and it easily can compete with a 5-star 40-minute match that we saw in the past takeovers.
I mean, that is a great perspective there, Coby, as well. Great matches don't need to be a long, long time. This was as good of a match as you can see. 20 minutes. Fantastic stuff. Bobby Petito wants to see another match between them for the NXT Championship, and Bell agrees with you, Coby, that their first one was pretty good, but this one blew the last out of the water. And Bell is also saying that it's scary that both men are so good, yet they're just in the developmental system. And I could not agree with you more. I really, really hope that these guys get utilized when they go to the main roster eventually. But Bret, give me your take on the NXT Championship match.
Well, I'm going to have to say kudos to Shawn Michaels because he's doing a fantastic job. With this match last night, but not only this match, the entire card was amazing, but this match specifically blew it out of the water. I thought the last match was a banger. This one even topped that one. So now, and I even thought Dragunov was going to possibly win the last one because all of the buildup that he had going into it. But with this match, I thought that it delivered exactly what the fans wanted, to be completely honest with you, even though it was unintended to give them what they wanted in a sense. But I think Dragunov should have won. Carmelo Hayes' time has come in my sense, and I think there should be a new storyline down the road, like Coby alluded to before, which I'm going to get into a little later with Trick. But yeah, this was an amazing match. Kudos to both of the guys. Once again, kudos to the entire team because this was a great pay-per-view. And again, this match, I can't say anything but 5 stars.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. It does get to a point where you have a match, this good, where it's difficult to, what to talk about when you talk about it. 'Cause there's literally nothing, that you can complain about. It was just so, so good. But talking about, good things, I mean, it's not to that level of good, but I thought it was very good, and that was Bron Breakker versus Baron Corbin. This was what opened up the show, and it was explosive. I think one of Baron Corbin's better matches in WWE, maybe, definitely one of his top 5 for me personally. Bron Breakker, he's got star written all over him. He is the future of WWE, no doubt about it. I mean, him, doing a bit of a Samuel Guevara cosplay was at entrance. I thought was a bit weird. Obviously, he was trying to, play in the mind of Baron Corbin by wearing a wolf thing. It didn't look badass. It just looked ass. But it was still a very, it was a very good match once it got underway. Explosive way to start this show. But Clark, give me your take on Baron Corbin versus Bron Breakker.
I love both these guys. As you know, at the graphic you posted earlier this week, I put Breakker at my table. I really thought he was going to win this match. The End of Days, one of my favorite, I think it's the most underrated big man finisher in the business. It was so well protected. I know he kind of complained about McIntyre kicking out of it and whatnot. But it was only once, and that move is still so protected, and he landed it square on the button, and that's all you can ask for there. The match was explosive, as you mentioned. You really broke that down. I mean, I don't have much more to add beyond it was fast paced, hard hitting, and then it ended with, as the move's name implies, the End of Days, and I love that. That finisher is outstanding. It looks good every time. Braun took it great. The finish looked great. It's an awesome opener for the show. I truly enjoyed it. I think it set the tone for the rest of the night. This felt closer to, we've already said TakeOver once on the show at least. This felt closer to TakeOver-ish, right? This was a statement match. Breakker, if you're sleeping on Breakker Corbin, you're not anymore, because that match was a slugfest, just like the rest of the night. And I really, really enjoyed the in-ring product on this night and this show. And this was a perfect way to start it off.
Absolutely. And I mean, Bobby Petito, you're saying it as well. Of course, the reason that
Yes.
Baron Corbin got the victory was Robert Stone showed up. And this means that Von Wagner might be getting closer to returning with perhaps a dark, creepy gimmick, perhaps a bit of a mask, perhaps the story that I wrote about 3 months ago. But
As
who
we've
knows?
both mentioned.
And I mentioned first and wrote an article about it
Hey.
first. Stop stealing my ideas.
I didn't steal it. I was backing you up. You need teammates.
I've had enough of my
I was
ideas
not
being
stealing.
stolen.
I was not stealing your idea. That would be other guys at the dirt sheets and whatnot. I am on your team. I was backing you up.
Well, I don't want you to, go and, do that and give me credit for it, Clark. I want it retweeted. But anyway, we've also got...
I came up with it on my own. Now that you said that, it was actually my idea the whole time. Ben stole it and then wrote the article.
We've also got a comment from Belle, and she is saying, is it wrong for me to say it was probably the best Baron Corbin has looked for a while?
What?
I don't think it would be wrong for you to say that at all. I absolutely agree with you there. Baron Corbin looked great. Going back to NXT has done him the world of good. I will certainly say
at least
that.
since the casino vignette. I mean, he's in like a dog food match with Roman Reigns and like not that long ago.
That's true. I mean, the theme was a banger, though. Let's get ready. Let's get ready. Let's get ready for a good time.
I will.
A good time.
And then they just covered him in dog food. Like, why?
Oh, gosh. But the only thing about... I'm not a fan of his new theme. I've liked all his other themes apart from this one. I don't like it. But anyway,
Who
that's
feeds
a
their
side note.
dog wet dog food. Gross.
That was the worst ending to a SmackDown ever. But anyway, let's get on with things and let's talk about something which was a fine match. Dominic Mysterio versus Trick Williams with Dragon Lee as the special guest referee. This was nothing too special. The big highlight of it was Trick Williams is the new North American champion. Dirty Dominic Mysterio is no longer the champion. Rhea Ripley was not there to help him get the victory, and Trick did get the win. After the match, he obviously went backstage to see the, at that time, still NXT champion, Carmelo Hayes. Carmelo was celebrating with him, said, I'll finish my business and then we'll go and celebrate. Melo went out there, of course, lost, came back, and then Trick was like, oh, dude, don't worry about it. To me, you're still the best guy here. And Melo was looking at that North American Championship on the shoulder of Trick Williams. I think something's cooking here, and I'm very much excited for it. Bret, give me your take on this one.
Yes, I definitely do think something is in the works with Trick and Melo in the near future, considering Melo was one of the best, if not the best, North American champion ever in existence. But I do have some notes on this match. Coby, what did you go ahead and rate this match, if you don't mind me asking one more time? Because I don't have the...
No, yeah, don't worry about it. It was theoretically the lowest match on the card, but it was a 3-2-5. So
okay. I completely agree. I was about to just go ahead and rate it a 3-star match. I thought they came out. It was great. Obviously, Dominic has one of the loudest heel boos in NXT or in existence for the past, like, at least a few years. So it gave Trick almost a very babyface edge. But with that, saying that, the match, they did look a little green, and it didn't come off in a bad way. Just the timing was not there in a sense. And I also don't believe that the refs helped this cause whatsoever, because I personally believe there wasn't even a reason to have Dragon Lee as a guest referee. It maybe have him in another match in a pre-show or not in a match at all on the card. I'm not too sure, but I just don't see him fitting in this specific match, especially as a referee. It just doesn't make sense to me. Give the two guys the main all the full attention. And then you have the second referee come in and mess up timing as well. So it didn't help the guys look better in the ring, but Trick did get the job done. I think that he looked great considering all the things I did just say. But I did not think it was going to happen, to be completely honest with you, because I didn't think Dominic was going to lose it this easy. I feel like this was a very easy loss for Dominic in a sense, but he doesn't have any help with him. So
yeah, no, I mean it does make sense how it lost because, like you said, no help with him. Rhea wasn't there. I also will agree with your point about the referees and the terms of it was a match which was very referee focused. I didn't mind Dragon Lee being the special guest though. I didn't mind that. I thought it made sense because of course Dragon Lee was screwed over because of the referee, Dominic Mysterio, manipulating referees. But then, I mean, Dragon Lee got hurt too and looked like a bit of an idiot. So I didn't like how it was done, but I didn't mind the actual, him being the referee. Just wish he was executed a bit better. But now time to talk about something which I didn't like. And that was the fatal 4-way tag team match. The family defending their tag team championships. Coby Galenzoski rated this on our system 4 stars. And I'm not disagreeing with that match rating for a second here. But I just don't like fatal 4-way tag matches. And I really didn't like this one. They feel overly choreographed. It's so... I know obviously wrestling's fake, but you're meant to suspend our disbelief a little bit. This looks so put together, so staged. And to be fair, it's hard to pull off a fatal 4-way tag match and not make it look like that. Because there's so many guys in the ring. The tag rules are always weird. Sometimes, there's 4 people allowed in. Sometimes there's 2, depending on the type of rule they're using. I personally prefer the 2 because when it's 4, there's too much going on and it just looks stupid. Everyone in it at a certain point in the match looks like an absolute idiot. It's just ridiculously staged. Don't get me wrong, I thought all the performers in this match did well, right? I'm not hitting on any of them. Thought they all did well. All 4 tag teams got a lot of potential. But I did not think this match was produced well. I did not, and because of that, the execution to me just looked phony. I'm sounding a bit like Ignacio. Maybe it's a me problem. Maybe I'm the problem. But this was not for me. Fatal 4-way tag matches I've never been a fan of. And this one was yet another one of those. But Coby, obviously you feel different. You give it 4 stars. What were your thoughts on this match?
So, and I mean, that's the thing is I share similar sentiments around some fatal 4-way tag matches that we see, or a 3-way tag match, or however many tag match, or just a multi-person match in general. We saw the one thing I would say is I hate the way that we've seen so many of them in terms of NXT, because this is the 3rd this year. This is the 3rd tag title match this year, or tag title 4-way this year, because we've seen him with the New Day in April, or no, the New Day in February. There was one WrestleMania weekend. That one was not that good either. This one was the first time that they felt like, okay, each team had their moment to shine. Each team looked good. Los Lotharios looked like, I wouldn't say I'd pay money, but Los Lotharios looked like they could hang with Sammy and Kevin, or Imperium, or have a compelling series with the Creed brothers, because they were able to do what they are good at. The Creed brothers, time and time again, they look amazing in the ring. Julius Creed is something special. Brutus is comedy with being able to do the springboard cannonball or Brutus ball, whatever you want to call it. Then you have Out the Mud, where they were the team that were out of place because they have the least experience out of any of them. They are the one team that's, I guess, an NXT developmental team, if you want to call it that way. But even then, they had their moments to shine. They looked good. They looked powerful with the moves they were doing. I'm not. I didn't complain about anyone. I think the psychology of having the heel teams work together. We saw Out the Mud holding Stacks for a super kick from one of the Lotharios. At the end of the day, we saw Tony D'Angelo walk out with a knee brace and selling that knee. I thought that was really good psychology from Tony. Showed that, I mean, he's going to be able to work an injury angle if he needs to. At the end of the day, I thought that was great. Innovative was great. The quadruple superplex was fun, unique. It kind of fit it. I thought it was just a really good tag match. It definitely was one of the better ones that we've seen from NXT as a whole. To me, I also kind of found it a little funny. We saw Out the Mud riding their bicycles, and it was like, okay, well, why are we doing a Baron Corbin American Battle motorcycle spot and then having another act do more bicycles? I saw too many wheels as a whole, especially with the shopping cart last night.
Coby is anti-wheels. Clark is anti-moons.
It
There's an
was
entire...
I'm
Everybody's
pro
anti-everything.
moons.
it was just
Pro moons.
corny. It was
I'm
just
anti-Mercury retrograde.
yeah, it was just corny to see Corbin come out really cool. Also, really head claps. Kudos to Shawn Michaels again for making Corbin look like the biggest babyface once again and doing his job. But with this, there was just a big motorcycle that comes out, and then you have these two huge guys get on these little bicycles. It looked like these tricycles. I was just like laughing at a certain point.
I agree. I'll say this. I think Coby Galenzoski is the preemptive ratings guy in all of professional wrestling, and I agree with him as often as
Agreed.
anyone and have full faith. But the fact that this was rated higher than the Trick Williams match, I was a little bit like, come on, dude. I hear where you're coming from, that there were a lot of fun spots, and psychologically it was better than a lot of the multi-tag matches. But in this instance, I do have to disagree. I would put those two matches on par personally. Obviously, I wasn't there rating it, and I'm not, I've always got your back, Coby. So if people talk crap based on what I said, I got your back on this. But if it was me, I would say that those were around the same in my eyes as far as entertainment value. And I do understand where Ben's coming from on the multi-man aspect of this match. It felt convoluted at times. There was a lot of entertainment value, no doubt. But it did just feel like there were certain spots in the match where like it was harder to pay attention than others.
Yeah.
Right. It would kind of like hook you back in and take you out of it at times. But yeah, overall, though, it was still entertaining. And on a card like this, that's where you can place a match like this. And
No,
I don't want to say get away with it, but that's why I'm okay with it. But to rate it 4 stars, we've seen some other matches that I think are, about 3.75 and maybe were better matches.
Yeah. No, I mean, that is a fair point. Obviously, at the end of the day, it was rated 4 stars on the system, but Bell agrees with me about multi-man tag team matches. And Bell saying, there's always too much going on, and I agree. But yeah, the injury spot by Tony D was well done. Absolutely. And Coby, I do agree with you too. It did showcase each of the tag teams well. That it absolutely did do. But now let's move on to something else I'm going to complain about slightly. Final complaint of the day, I promise. But Noam Dar versus Butch. And I can't believe I'm complaining about this because Pete Dunne is one of my favorite wrestlers and I love British rounds, right? I love that formula, that World of Sport classic style. I love it. And that's why I hated this. The referee looked like an absolute idiot, right? You're meant to deduct a point, right? If you see something happen after the bell. The first one, maybe, you could argue, okay, that wasn't deliberate or whatever. But when Butch did it, it was like a full, 2 seconds afterwards, and the referee was blatantly locking. The referee looked like an idiot. When Dart cheated multiple times, it was in the referee's eye line. They were there locking. This referee, okay, I don't like to hate on individual performances ever, right? But this referee did a bad job in this match. I'm sorry, but he did. He was looking in the direction when things were happening. The cameras were picking it up, which was another issue, whatever. But this was done poorly. It really, really was. The actual in-ring stuff between Noam Dar and Butch was fantastic, as you would expect it to be. But the referee stuff, the ending, it just took me out of it completely. Noam Dar still got it. He's entertaining. He's doing entertaining stuff. The Metaphor are doing great entertaining stuff on NXT right now. But the spots they did with, the cheating, referee seeing it when he shouldn't have seen it, the acting the referee was doing it, I didn't like it. Clark, am I being a bit harsh here?
No, I actually agree with you. And it's so unfortunate because I was so looking forward to this. I actually wish they'd have done the whole tournament under this format. Maybe not 5 rounds, but maybe 3 rounds. And wrestled it that way because I love the format so much. I love Pete Dunne. I love Noam Dar so much. And the work they've put in to point at the referee. I hate throwing people under the bus like that. Man, this was like Herb Dean gets a lot of criticism in MMA right now for early stoppages and whatnot. But this was Steve Mazzagatti, Mario Yamasaki bad. Right? This was like a little bit of incompetence borderline. right? Like take some control. And then you add in, where are the Brawling Brutes? I thought those are Butch's buddies. We got Tyler Bate for why? Because Trent Seven's not there to help out Tyler Bate if he's in the spot? Or is it because I don't understand? Joe Coffey, right? Like we're just throwing out NXT UK guys for nostalgia's sake. In the middle of the convolution, in the middle of what's supposed to be the most rigid refereed match you can possibly have with the classic, like you said, the British rounds and the rule set that goes into place in a Heritage Cup match. The rules should be as, because of the gimmick, whatever you'd like to call it, the stipulation on a Heritage Cup match, the rules should be more rigid than ever, and they just weren't. And they weren't followed in that way. And not only that, can we just get Pete Dunne? It's Pete Dunne. I'm done with the Butch thing. I'm sick of it. It's not funny anymore. It was funny for a minute. It's not funny. It's Pete Dunne. I'm not even going to say Butch outside of that. That's the last time. The one that I just said now. Pete Dunne is awesome. I don't mind that he lost this match because it was cool that he got the work with Noam Dar. It showed you how good Noam Dar could be. Can we get Pete Dunne on the main roster and give him a run because Pete Dunne's that good? Knock this off. Knock it off. He's charismatic on the microphone. He's charismatic. He carries himself like a champion all the time. He's rabid, whether he's Butch or Pete Dunne. He's violent. He breaks your fingers. He's got as violent of a moveset as anyone in professional wrestling right now. The way he can break people down, work body parts. He can work with almost any body type, any professional wrestler. Please just give us Pete Dunne for real. Give him the fur coat back. I don't care. But give me Pete Dunne and let him run wild, because Pete has been robbed more than any of the talents that I've seen called up to the main roster or given a spotlight on AEW. Doesn't matter the company. He has been robbed harder than anyone. In my eyes, there is no broserweights that makes any sense without Pete Dunne. I understand Matt Riddle was released. We pushed Matt Riddle to the moon. We put him with Randy Orton. And Pete Dunne gets Butch and the backseat to Sheamus and Ridge Holland. Knock it off. I'm sick of that. Pete Dunne is too good for this, and he deserves better. A lot better.
I absolutely agree with you, Clark. Could not agree more there. I've been saying it for months. Bobby's in the comments, and of course, Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne were together in British Strong Style. I was watching them, in progress before they were picked up by NXT UK in that inaugural championship tournament. Both guys are so good. And it's almost hurt watching this in that regard, because you're like, I miss this version of Pete Dunne, because it is great, seeing him and Tyler Bate together. They need to do something. They need to bring, back Pete Dunne. I understand, last night, because a lot of people were saying last night should be when he becomes Pete Dunne again. I agree not doing it last night because most main roster fans aren't watching an NXT Premium Live event, so that would not have made sense to, SmackDown viewers. But they need to do the change soon. They needed to do it 6 months ago, but come on, Sheamus is now out for a long period of time. Let's do something. But before, I've already said more complaining again, so let's move on. Let's talk about something a lot better, and that is Becky Lynch versus Tiffany Stratton, the NXT Women's Championship. These women killed it. This was an absolutely tremendous NXT TakeOver level main event. Coby Galenzoski rated this 5 stars as well. Well deserved. Don't think anybody can debate that, to be honest with you. This was brutal. Drizzy said it last night, I think, perfectly, saying, seeing, a Barbie in a hardcore match, that's not something you see every day. It was brilliant. I really enjoyed this. Becky Lynch retained the championship. It means Shard is going to have to wear the Tiffany Stratton t-shirt now. Clark's also joining him on that bet as well, so Clark's going to have to be wearing the Tiffany Stratton shirt too. So, wrestling off the air every Tuesday night is basically the Tiffany Stratton fan club now. But Bret, I'm going to start with you. Becky Lynch, Tiffany Stratton, NXT Women's Championship. What were your thoughts on this main event match?
Amazing job. I know I sound like a broken record at this point, but they have done which is what I meant to say before when I stuttered with Corbin. With these superstars like Tiffany Stratton, they have brought them up and made them look like real great superstars, even better than the other companies sometimes, and sometimes even better than the main roster. And Tiffany Stratton, to me, in my opinion, she's one of the next big stars. She has the look, she has the physique, she has the move set. She's tough. She got, like, I've seen her get her butt kicked last night, and I was impressed by the way they both handled it. Honestly, I've seen Becky handle worse, getting punched in the face, but Tiffany Stratton really handled that very well. And kudos to her. I've said that a million times this episode too. But I do think that she's going to get a main roster push soon. I don't know if she's going to win it. I do know that we have a tournament coming up for a bunch of NXT rookies that are going to have a shot at the title, which I think a certain someone may come out. Who knows? But at that point, we'll see. But I think Stratton deserves to be on this main roster more than a lot of people, to be completely honest with you, than that are on the main roster.
That is certainly some big praise. And I think maybe, I'm going to be honest, I think she still needs a bit of fine tuning, but I don't think we're too far away now from seeing her, be able to, be in that position and potentially be a top star for the years to come in the women's division. But Coby, you gave this match 5 stars. Tell us why.
At the end of the day, and I do want to kind of continue the Tiffy praise, we're looking at someone who they time and time again within the last month, they have sold us on this idea, sold us on this concept that Tiffany Stratton's been in wrestling for 2 years. There's not, for someone to be in the business for 2 years, there's not a damn other person in the wrestling business that can wrestle as good as Tiffany Stratton. Tiffany Stratton, if we didn't have Jade Cargill joining the company, Tiffany Stratton's your next megastar in the women's division. She's someone who can work with the new people, as we saw with Kiana James and Thea Hale. She worked great with Lyra Valkyria, and now she's working with Becky Lynch, and she's proving that if she went on the main roster, she could hang with anyone. She is someone that, to me, it is so scary that she's this good 2 years into the game, and she has another 15-ish years in the business if she wanted it. Like she said on Instagram, she's a future WrestleMania main eventer. But if I'm talking about the rating, I'm looking at this as from a women's main event Extreme Rules match. This is the first ever women's main event of NXT since the Iron Women match between Bayley and Sasha. At the end of the day, this had everything you want in an Extreme Rules match. We had elements of a street fight. We saw weapons. We saw Barbie parts, which fit the story because we see Tiffany calling herself a Barbie. We saw a barbed wire bat in a women's Extreme Rules match. I'm not going to sit there and try to say we shouldn't have, but we did. We saw both women getting cut up. Tiffany was bleeding from the corner of her eye. Becky was bleeding from her arm. She had to get 11 stitches. We're sitting here, and these two women went to war. We saw innovative spots, and it was a swanton through the table, the chain spot. We saw a shopping cart being used, that handspring elbow through the barricade. We saw the senton through the chair. There's a lot of spots that were like, oh, these girls did everything in their power to make this match special, and it was. And the crowd loved it. It was a great match from start to finish. Both women deserve their flowers, and I saw a lot of discourse about Tiffany carrying Becky. Come on, you can't sit there and be serious with that take. Becky is one of the best, if not the best, women's wrestler of this generation, and the fact of the matter is she elevated Tiffany Stratton with 2 matches, and that is what you want in someone with the experience that she has.
Undoubtedly. No, you hit the nail on the head there, Anybody saying Becky Lynch is being carried through a match of anyone is just straight up wrong. But Tiffany Stratton held her own. Becky Lynch elevated her to the next level. She says she wants to be a future WrestleMania main eventer. I don't think it's out of the question. Clark, I know, you wanted it to be Tiffy time once again, but your clock still ain't working. What did you think about this one?
I had no issue with this. I put Becky at my table earlier this week, as you know, too. Anyway, I'm a fan of both women and a huge fan, right? Like Tiffany Stratton's charisma and everything has captivated me on NXT television. Becky Lynch, though, we know has no problem banging hands, being a little bit, stiff, going to war, doing that type of thing. Tiffany Stratton, there's a big question mark heading into this one. Well, she brought her blanket with sleeves because this was snuggy. As snuggy as you could ask for, all the way across the board. And what more could you want than that? Tiffany Stratton brought it right back to Becky Lynch and showed she's here to hang. She's not just the pretty princess. She doesn't mind throwing hands. She doesn't mind using barbed wire bats. This wasn't just playing around with tinfoil in a hardcore match. This was an Extreme Rules match, legit, all the way around. We saw the blood. I loved it. Everything about it I loved. I don't think it takes an ounce away from what Tiffany's accomplished so far, and I don't think it takes an ounce away from anything Becky's ever accomplished. I think it's kind of a joke if you're sitting there doing what Coby said about like the Becky got carried by Tiffany. That's a joke. It'd be a joke to say it the other way around too. This is everything you can ask for in what is like a women's main event. I mean, they went after it. That was not to be messed with. That's the type of work we like to see in big time matches. It's going to be hard to follow for some of these main event women's division matches, whether it be other brands, main roster, all of that. That is something that is hard to follow, given what they were able to accomplish last night, given multiple points we've all made. Tiffany's youth, Becky moving down, working with someone less experienced, right? I mean, Becky's used to working with on the other end, almost her equals being a 4-horsewoman. To be able to work with somebody with that little of experience and have that level of trust and work that stiff, put that blanket with sleeves on and be snuggy with the elbows and be tight and be stiff. And I mean, every strike landed, whether it be a kendo stick, an elbow, a forearm, a chop, or a punch. Every strike was right in there. And this was one of those matches that had virtually no low points, and I'm not taking away from either woman's ability to sell because they both sold properly, but there wasn't a moment where there wasn't tension, and that was the brilliance to me of this match, and that's something that I wasn't sure Tiffany Stratton was capable. I am now.
Absolutely. No, I mean, you put it really well there, Clark. And Bell's put it in a great way as well, saying, mark my words, Tiffany Stratton will be on the tippy top of the WWE Women's Division in the future. That's great. That was well said, Bell. And of course, Bobby Petito saying Tegan Knox was in the crowd for the match. Tegan Knox, Becky Lynch, Monday. Well, that's going to be a good one. South Wales for life.
Give them time. Give them time.
You give them time, absolutely. Tegan Knox, she can shine. She certainly can. Let's hope that they put on a banger of a bout on Monday night. But talking about banger of bouts, let's hope we have a couple of them tonight, because of course tonight is AEW Wrestle Dream. We're going to be posting live on Instagram. The review's going to be up later on by Coby as well. It's going to be a great show. Hopefully Tony Khan's claiming it's going to start the new era of AEW. What could that mean? Well, we're going to have to wait to find out. We will be back tomorrow, 8 p.m. UK, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific, to review the show, to give our thoughts on whatever this new era may be. Certainly going to be a great one. Thank you to each and every one of you who have joined us today. We really appreciate it. If you are on YouTube and you could leave us a like, that helps us a lot. Subscribe to, turn on notifications. It helps massively. If you're on Spotify, a cheeky 5 stars is always appreciated. Thank you to Clark, thank you to Bret, and thank you to the head of reviewing, the guy who's been putting in all the work this weekend, Coby Galenzoski. Thank you guys for watching. We will see you tomorrow. Enjoy wrestling.